Hello there, I'm Dejan and welcome to a new video. It's quite late, I'm not gonna lie. It's 1 o'clock, 1 a.m. in the morning and I just finished double shift in the pub. But I received a comment that told me that these datas were out and well, I could not just hold myself and I needed to do a video about this and to talk about this, especially with my last video talking about this topic in particular. And being so close to each other, I really need to check these data and kind of update what I said in my last video. So before we start, just a little quick thing. Thank you. I was honestly a bit down for a while because my last videos weren't getting pushed by the algorithm as much, but the last video has been very successful. It's been very well received. There are a lot of comments, a lot of likes, there is a lot of conversation going on, and it's very nice to see that, especially on a topic that is quite it's not easy to talk about, especially in the way where I put it, where I basically told most of the people that they are just average Tekken player, and sometimes that might feel quite discordant with what we feel within ourselves. So thank you to every single one of you that like, comment and watch my last video. And please, if you haven't done it yet, and I know that most of you did not do that yet, consider subscribing. It is really the biggest help you can give to a channel of my size, and it will help me to just keep on going and keep produce more stuff and increasing the quality. As I said, there is a lot of changes coming for winter, and yeah, just please consider pressing the red buttons, especially if you've seen me maybe more than one time. And I don't ask you, as I always say, I don't ask you to click that bell. That's honestly, notifications are annoying for most of the people, me included sometimes, so just please subscribe so that if there is a new video, it might be in your own page and you might don't have to look for it. So these data are from NotQuiteFactual, which is our most important data source, and it's going to be our most important data source since TEKKEN unfortunately closed a couple of days ago. It releases a monthly update every time about how the rank distribution is going, how the win rates are going, and how the character usage percentages are going. And it's very nice to have these data now on a monthly release, and it's very good because thanks to the fact that this game is now cross-service, cross-platform, you can get those data basically related to the whole game, because these data are taken from a code, for what I understand, that basically scan a lot of games. Like in this particular case is 9 million replays. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm gonna leave a link in the description so you can watch them for yourself, but let's jump into them. So the first chart that we see, which I think is a copy and paste, the first two are the same chart, so I'm just gonna go here, is the win rate, oh, I cannot do it, is the win rates with 90%, 95% confidence intervals, which is this black bar, which is kind of fluctuation, for advanced player. So advanced player is gonna specify later exactly what they are, but it's everything that is blue and above. And it just counts the matches that are against other blue ranks. Okay, or same ranks. It doesn't count anything that is like, if he's advanced versus battle ruler, which is an intermediate player, is not gonna count. And this advanced and intermediate is all standards that he set up for the code to analyze the data as a parameter basically. And you can see is on these data is always kind of the same soup. Panda, Kuma, really rare matchups, no one knows how to play them. Very difficult to play against. Shaheen, Zafina, same thing. Shaheen can be played very gimmicky as well with his guard break, his slide, so we all been there. Claudio, it's probably because it's just simply a very solid character. That's why as well is a very good character play, a very good tournament character. Dragonov, obviously because it's Dragonov, and then you get the usual and you go down, you get all the rest. Jack 8, Alisa, Raven. Jack 8 is incredibly high in my opinion, bit unexpected. Eddie, you can see that now is settled in the middle where everyone knows where he roughly is. And obviously the more difficult character to control, Kazuya and Reina, at the very end. Now, rank distribution. Now for the rank distribution, here probably there is the first thing that is surprising. Not surprising, but there is a big change. So between Gario and Fujin, the numbers are always increasing, and it's always going to be that. That's the kind of ranking system that there is now, where basically getting out to the first 10 is just time matter, and then getting up to the Gario, it's way easier than it should be, in my opinion. So that these ranks basically lose a lot of their value, because basically everything between Warrior and Eliminator feels like a miscellaneous of very beginner level, where you can just, with woo spams in a smarter way, get higher in ranks. Gario is a bit where the game starts, but as well, rank system is very positive with you until you get to Fujin, and is very helpful with getting more points than what you lose, and that's why these numbers between Gario and Fujin are just gonna keep on rising, period. It's not gonna happen anything more. Probably the biggest increase that we've seen in size now is in Tekken King. Now, why is that? I have two opinions, and it's probably the reason why Tekken King is increased so much is a combination of the two. So the first is obviously the Tekken prowess matchmaking. If you get in blue ranks for the first time, your prowess is, I said it many times, around 180,000 points, and getting through that kind of blue ranks, which is let's call them the junior blue ranks, it's okay, it's not that crazy difficult. It's not that crazy difficult as the purple ranks. It's more or less a purple ranks plus. And that stays like this until you reach Tekken King. And when you reach to Tekken King, your prowess skyrockets. And that's where the matchmaking changed substantially. So this means that the first time a lot of people that reaches blue ranks has the possibility, very solid possibility, to get to Tekken King. And once you get to Tekken King is the kind of rank where you stop for a second. And you take a break maybe for the game, you take a break maybe for your character, most probably from your character. And that's why I think the percentage of Tekken King increased so much, because a lot of people parked their main character down there. And that's my theory anyway. Nothing more, nothing less. But let me know what you think down below. As well, because I think there is a smaller amount of players that loses their Tekken King rank and then fights back to get it back and get again to Tekken King. And there is, in my opinion, when you are really Tekken King. Not when you reach it the first time, but where you can keep on fighting and maintaining that. Because reaching Tekken King and maintaining Tekken King is completely two different ranks. Completely two different ranks. It is not your fault, and I'm not saying that to diminishing any of your job or the hard work and practice that you put into the game. It's just how the game system is based. And I will never stop to stress this enough. Ever. Because it pisses me off so much. And then Tekken Emperor, Tekken God Supreme, God of Destruction are more or less the same, with Tekken God Supreme getting a bit more increase, and God of Destruction as well, because there is a kind of inflection related factor in God of Destruction, different from Tekken God Omega, which is basically there is a limit, Joka found it, but there is no limit on how many points you can get on God of Destruction, so you can basically increase your ranking points for ever, and then it's gonna be basically almost impossible to demote you. So that's already another way to inflate the system, which it's very limited and restricted, so no one will ever complain, and like no one will ever talk about it. Most of the people will never even know or complain about it, because they will never feel it. They will just see people like K-Wiz and Joka say, basically my main character will never get demoted, and it's true. And that's why I think Tekken needs a legend system, like in Street Fighter 6. Now, most popular characters. Here, again, the only real changes we can see from the last times is that Eddie and Lydia are settling, where Eddie's down here and Lydia's down here. They're settling in between the average, a bit more above the average, which is good. And they are not anymore the most popular character, which are the usual guys. Jin, King, Kaz, Warang, Reina, Dragunov, Brian, Lowe, Steve, Yoshi. The usual stuff, with Kuma, Shaheen, Zafina, Panda being the last one that no one wants to play, as usual. Shaheen being, in my opinion, still a bit different, but still. Shaheen being a bit more particular one, because he's a very solid character, and you see quite frequently in tournaments, but not as much in ranked. Most popular character, Master, more or less it reflects the same chart that you see above, with the difference that more someone like Brian, which is a bit more execution demanding, gets a bit higher, and you see as well a bit more of tier following over here, with especially Jin, Dragon, and King being the first three. Warren being always a fan favorite. Jin honestly is always a fan favorite as well. I think Dragonov player base is a bit inflated because of how good the character is. Not that he's not always been one of the good and most played character, he's always been on the more played character side, but this number this high on the highest ranks, I feel like is a bit of, yeah, quite a sequel for War 4. What else do we have here? We have a lot of fan favorites as usual, honestly not that much different. Feng is surprisingly low, I will have to say. And now we go into win rates. Now, win rates intermediate. Win rates intermediate, which is basically purple and red ranks roughly. You can see how the Bears, Zafina Jack, we saw this I think already are up there. And Reina and Kazuya are very low, Jin as well is very low. This is because as well this character, they start to become very hard to pilot on red and purple ranks. And on red and purple ranks, your opponent is supposedly, especially if he's using a character that is, I don't want to say is autopilot, but it's easier to pilot, like it could be a Victor, you know, or it could be, well, a Dragonov itself. Honestly, Dragonov is not that hard to pilot. They fight against you where you're required to have spacing, have patience, understanding frames, understanding punishes, and be very solid in your gameplay. And in your game plan, you're basically gonna be steamrolled. Because it's very hard to get even just out of purple ranks without being able to like sidestep electric, for instance, or blocking up 14 or 15 frame moves and just electric out of it. And it's not as easy. I know that once you get solid at the game, once you get on a higher level, it's just easy to think about these kind of things and just apply them, but it's not as easy as we make it sound, just because we can do it now, because we put a lot of practice. I said we, but I cannot, because I cannot do electrics, but like I can sidestep and jet upper now, for instance. But it took me a long time to be able to sidestep, read the sidestep, read the whiff on the sidestep and jet upper. That's not as easy as it sounds. It is absolutely not natural. Wins rate in advanced are more or less the same, with Elisa losing a bit more and Jack losing a bit more, Warren struggling way more. And here you see what the knowledge matchmaking does to you. So Warren is a character that is very strong, and you see he is almost close to 50% win rates, which is not as great, but it's almost there. In intermediate, but in advanced, people knows how to deal with Warren. People knows how to break his throw, how to react to his basic moves, like his class. He has a lot of low high, and I'm not talking just on down for free. I'm talking about more like slower stuff. And you know how to deal with that, so that's where you lose a lot of things. It becomes way harder to deal with the character, like way harder for you to improve with the character itself, because you need to be able to pilot the character properly. And I think the biggest case of this that we can see in this data, especially between intermediate and advanced, but you can probably argue as well between master, but it's the same, so let's do it with intermediate and advanced, because it pulls out the biggest chunk of people anyway. So Nina has a whopping 52% win rate, roughly, which moves between almost 53 and a bit below 52 with the fluctuation, okay? In intermediate. But if we go in advanced, so blue and onwards, blue to Tekken King, she got down, like with the fluctuation, she goes below 50, she goes to 49, high 49. So it's between low 51, so probably high 50, because it looks like it's lower than 52, the 51, and below 50. And why is that? Well, once you get to advanced rank, can opener and reverse can opener, which is a triple kick, like, you know, what is that? What is it? It's like a high low high or high low mid. No, it's a high low mid, I think, and then it's a low high mid. Okay, they don't work anymore, and suddenly Nina becomes a character which is still very strong, very solid, but way harder to pilot. And therefore, this is gonna bring you to struggle to get victories. And when you have to relearn a character, and you notice that what you relied a lot doesn't work anymore, that's where Tekken starts to be very hard. The basic instance is more for is for beginner and intermediate level, but Tekken 8 can bring you on this move can bring you on high purple. But the best instance is Brian with Snake Edge, and as well because it's my character, I can make it very clear. So when you start to play Brian, you Snake Edge a lot because it's your low. Any launcher is a low that launches, and on low ranks no one blocks it. Okay, then you get to the beginning of the average ranks, and people start to block Snake Edge all the time. Sometimes they block it as well. If you just do Snake Edge after Snake Edge, they block it even in beginners for how slow is the move. But usually it brings you through beginner with no problem. But in intermediate, obviously, people block Snake Edge. Okay, they always block Snake Edge. I'm not saying that sometimes you cannot pull a Snake Edge. Yes, sometimes you can pull a Snake Edge. When you notice that your opponent is always pressing button, you smartly place one, you can do it. But I dare you to do 3 Snake Edge in a match on a higher ranks. If you do it, I'm sorry, your opponent is not as good. So what happens when Snake Edge starts to get blocked? Well, you have to relearn completely how to play Brian. And that's not easy. And this, I think, is what's happening to a lot of these characters like Yoshimitsu. Yoshimitsu is actually even a bigger instance. Look at this. Yoshimitsu is 51%, way above 51% in intermediate. If you go to advanced, Yoshimitsu, actually I can make this a bit bigger, here we go. If you go into advanced, Yoshimitsu is 49%, he doesn't get to 50%. And why is that? Because people understand how to deal with him. People understand that I'm +4, I cannot press against you. In intermediate, no one does that. Oh, I have my plus frames, I'm gonna press. No, with Yoshimitsu, that's how he kills you. And that's why here it becomes way more difficult to deal with him. A lot of the tricks he does, they don't work anymore here. You wanna play Yoshimitsu, you need to start to develop your keep out. You need to start to play with way deeper and more difficult strategies to place your flash. So this is probably where the data that for me are more interesting. Oh, and now we get a little talk, which is very interesting to read. So, gonna just quickly go through it. So this is approximately monthly report of the Tekken 8 metagame based off replays gathered in the in-game replay browser. This month's report comes just shy of 2 months. Since the introduction of the second DLC character Lydia, we have also seen some small bug fixes and balance change in the last metagame, so yada yada yada. Methodology. So as I said, he used this one, I'm just gonna skip it, but he used the code to go over 9 million replays now. So it's a lot of data. Now we have a lot of data. So the list of players for each character is determined by the highest rank character recorded for a player, e.g. you have a Raijin, Xiaoyu and a Tiryu Panda, you just counted your highest rank, obviously. Players are split into intermediate, advanced, beginner, intermediate, advanced and master technique category. Now here is where I have a bit of, I think where these datas are a bit, don't want to say meh, but the categories I think they don't fit very well, completely well within each other. And I'm gonna explain why. So the beginner to yellow ranks are considered beginners. So the first 10 ranks are beginners, which is good, is correct. Now, orange through purple is considered intermediate. Blue through Tekken Emperor is considered advanced, and Tekken Gold and above are considered master. Now, I honestly think that the beginner player base now, it should be beginner to orange. Or, generally speaking, yellow to orange itself should be a category. And having the beginner to yellow, the non-losing ranks, being a category on the board as novice, let's say. And that's the first difference. Because orange, like consider as intermediate an orange player, don't get me wrong, don't get angry if I say this, but for the current system of the game, to giving points and for what the rank value, what's the rank value, I'm sorry, orange is very much a beginner level at the moment. It doesn't feel like it. Red and purple ranks considered in the intermediate, absolutely fine with it. Fujin should be in the intermediate, and that's why, in my opinion, there are 4 Fujin ranks, because on Fujin is where the Tekken point system changes and becomes from inflating to deflating, from positive to negative. You win more than you lose more than you win. That's the change, and that's why there are 4 ranks, because blue rank is the rank that is hard to get over. So blue ranks, it is a goal, an end for a lot of the player base, because it's very hard to get over the blue ranks in the first time you reach it. Through Tekken Emperor, That's a massive chunk that with the current system includes so much a miscellaneous of player that in my opinion cannot be put together. So as I said, Fujin mostly there still is the end of the intermediate players. Tekken King, you want to put the Tekken King in advanced? I understand. In intermediate as the last, as the last of the advanced. I agree with that. That's where should be the last of the advanced. Why? For two reasons. Your Tekken prowess rises when you reach Tekken King, so your matchmaking becomes harder from that. But before that, it's not. So you can reach Tekken King in an easier way that is to maintain and reach the other ranks. And from Tekken King onwards, the malus points you get, the malus that you get on losing compared to the winning is even bigger. So getting to Tekken Emperor is way harder than getting Bush into Tekken King. It's like, you feel it is a different game. You feel it is way harder. So that's why I feel like Tekken Emperor, and I think as well the numbers that we'll see later, they're gonna back this. Tekken Emperor should be here in the Master. Plus you can do all the discussion that blue ranks they should be divided in two, because there are two different prowess, and whoever is a Kishin with 240 Tekken prowess is a completely different Kishin than with 190 Tekken prowess. We all know that. We all been there, we all know that. I'm not gonna say this anymore. So yeah, these are the couple of things I don't agree that much. Think these categories are not as neat as they could be, but these are the numbers. There's already a lot of works here, so he started to do all the first charts and analysis with these categories, so there is no point in probably changing them now, and it's understandable. Now for win rates in this tier, as I said earlier, you only games where both players given were considered EG game, only where player were in a given tier. So the matches gets analyzed if he's an advanced player versus an advanced. If you're an advanced player and you are against another advanced player, or intermediate versus intermediate. If you're intermediate versus advanced, the match is not going to be counted, which is good. And there are no mirror matches and draw. Weird choice on the mirror matches, especially with the eye thing. I don't understand that, but that's here are the percentages of the ranks. And here is where we see the first big changes. Now, here we go. The old table is back. Let's see what we have here. So, if we go to, let's check the warriors first.